People who take care of chickens are literally chicken tenders. Tut, tut. All right, you get ripped up. You get ripped up. I'm sorry. It's not. But here's the worst part about it. Some level of me is chuckling somewhere and liking it. When you're a kid, you hear that for the first time. Oh, look what they did with language there. That's hilarious, and it's delightful. You hear it for the thousandth time. As an adult, it wears you out. Well, when you're young to the idea, we're living in a society that is somewhat synthetic. You're very surprised the first few times you learn something. But over time, you realize, oh yeah, of course it's been propagandized. Of course they lied to us. That's what they do. Just like the older we get, the novelty of those jokes wear off. The difficulty is we have to remember and not be cynical, because those of us who are waking up to the shenanigans for the first time, really don't know any better. They really don't know any better. So they have that delight in that joke like a young child might at a knock-knock joke or that stupid chicken tenders joke. So if we're cynical because we've already gone there, then we can keep them from really appreciating or enjoying it, or at the very least rain on their parade. And that's a difficulty because people are waking up, slow but sure, but they're not quite where they need to be. And to be honest, we're all on a scale of awakening, so we're not quite there either. It's difficult, though. It's difficult because you get impatient. You know where things are going, and you don't want to hear the same thing over again. You want to have the same conversation over and over again. It's tiresome to keep having the same conversation about stuff you know is true, and you know it's true so well that it's passé to you, just like that pun is to most people. It's tiresome to have that conversation, so we're tempted very much to get frustrated, and it's difficult. It takes a lot of patience. Okay, so once we've got our square shape, we're gonna make a flower this time. We're gonna make a pretty little a flower or a tulip or something. It's gonna look neat. It's gonna look geometrical. It's gonna look like a funky little pyramid dingus here. Pyramids have some interesting properties, and there are those nowadays who believe pyramids and other, they call it Neolithic or megalithic structures. I don't know. I'm not an archaeologist. I'm just a dude. They believe that these might actually be evidence of ancient technology on a large scale. Like, for example, maybe the layout of these ancient cities isn't as we think. Maybe those big stone structures like Stonehenge were in fact part of like a massive computer. Computers use silicon. So maybe there was a really big chip, a really huge chip, and pyramids and other structures are kind of set up like that. I don't know. Okay, we got our folds, though. These are our main basic folds, close enough for horseshoes and hand grenades. Sorry, my mouse is on the ding. That's why. There, put the background back. Okay, so for this one, we're going to make the interesting little X-wing shape, the little fat X-wing without a nose. This is a foundational fold for so many different things. And you'll notice that when it comes to propaganda, there are so many foundational folds that harken back to so many similar concepts, perhaps even reinventing ideas and paradigms of the past. The Tower of Babel, all that kind of stuff. What Nimrod was up to. It's just possible. It's just possible that the same tactics are being used today. In fact, I submit to you that they are. And what we're seeing is a sort of, I don't know if I want to call it a return to form, but we are seeing a reboot of ancient mystery religious heresies. And it's this ancient mystery religion tradition that defines the globalist putsch from the top out. So what we'll have is a pattern that happens. Oh, but we've got others to do. So we get that one done, and now we got to do the same thing over here with this guy. He's got to go, and we're going to flop him out like that. So many of these steps are repetitive, and they don't seem to be going anywhere, but you can kind of imagine where it might go. Here's the thing, though. When you're dealing with manipulation, you're dealing with a reality that is synthetic and, in a way, trying to become sort of like, like what they're, what's the word I'm looking for? striving, not optimizing, they're reaching for it. They're aping, they're emanating, they're emulating. There we go. Listen, I'm doing three things at once here. You can't see it, but my toes are tap dancing a jig, and I'm completely stationary as well, okay? Don't get on me too hard for and on and emulate. But the point being, the emulation of perfection isn't possible if you are in contradiction to perfection. So what a lot of these New World Order things are doing, they're an emulation of something they can't aspire to in all reality, because it requires being in agreement to it. It requires being at peace with it. It requires being in obedience to the truth. Your lungs have to be obedient to your brain if you're going to breathe. And the air has to be obedient to the lungs, you know. There has to be an obedience with yourself and gravity. We have been taught through the mystery religion cultic brainwashing that stretches all the way back to Nimrod to consider things like obedience as an impediment on freedom, but that might not actually be the case. It might actually be that certain relationships must exist in reality for there to be anything going on at all. It could be something of that variety. And if that is indeed the case, well, then it's not an issue of obedience at all. It's an issue of laying the necessary groundwork in order to reach fullest potential. We do all indeed have potential. We do. Everybody's got potential. Everybody's got a destiny. Those that seek to control it, though, are trying to use the energy of our trek through life to fuel their own selfish ambitions, which are in turn fueling others who's manipulating them. It's just a big old circle of repetitive abuse and manipulation. You see how I'm doing each of these things, and it's like a tree within a tree. It's like a spiral in a spiral, like a wheel within a wheel, never ending or beginning on an ever spinning reel. That's the song to the Thomas Crown Affair, which was romanticizing the gentleman thief. And if you really think about it, the romanticization of the gentleman thief, and we're almost there, you can see, is itself a type of propaganda. Because the truth is, there's nothing really romantic in the gentleman thief. It doesn't matter if he's a gentleman or not. The reality is, he is using a form of manipulation, a selfish form of manipulation to get what he wants. Now, it says in Scripture that witchcraft is as of the sin of rebellion. Well, what is witchcraft when you get right down to it? It's manipulation. It's imposing your will on others for your own selfish interests in a way that is not in agreement with the overall destiny that we are intended to have in this reality, and in fact inhibits us and those we malign from reaching our fullest potential. Witchcraft is as the sin of rebellion. You're rebelling against the destiny that you actually have in the world. So, Nimrod, mystery religions, occultic practices, government bodies of the New World Order, World Economic Forum variety that follow these interests, they're really just chasing. They're chasing fragments of a hologram rose. They're chasing a projection of a projection that's been put out to hoodwink them, incidentally. Now, the sad part about this is such individuals are they who actually inform the academia circles of modernity. And because it takes time when you're younger to understand these things, like we were talking earlier with the joke, many of the youth don't understand that they're being taught to find a really bad joke about chicken tenders to be the epitome of humor. And because there's a kernel of humor in it there, it's hard to realize what's being done to you. There is a kernel of humor there. But that's not the epitome of humor. That's an introduction. Life is kindergarten. Death is the first grade. Well, these concepts, ideologically and spiritually, that people are being stunted from, keep them running around in a circle in first grade, or in kindergarten rather, never progressing to first grade, because they don't believe there's anything really there for them. But there is. There really is. And it's just the beginning. Eternity is just the beginning. It really is. We're taught to think that the life we're in is the be-all and end-all. And that's what the globalists do with their rebellious mystery religion. They're just toddlers who will eat the crayons in the spiritual nursery rather than use them to draw a picture. But the ultimate goal is for them to be able to three-dimensionally render pictures that can be brought into reality in the eternal realm, you see. I'm extending the metaphor, but the globalist thinkers are just base, really. They're stuck in the one-liner joke, and simultaneously they ruin it for the rest of us who've seen it and know there's much more out there. And then we lose our own patience as we try to wake others up to the truth. So it's quite the vicious cycle when you get right down to it. It's a nasty, funky, polygonal flower of rot and shenanigans. But at the same time, once you get done with all the folds, the metaphor is complete, and you have something that you can show off, well, to the ladies. All right, so there's a little flower, right? And what did I say at the beginning? It's going to be like a pyramid. You know, you plan in advance, and there it is, and you can look inside there. Woo-woo! All right.